I think it's still okay for me to say that. I believe we're still under 12 p.m., but good morning again, and welcome to Georgia Southwestern State University, and welcome to the inaugural National First Ladies Day Commission Luncheon. I am Stephen Snyder. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Advancement at Georgia Southwestern State University, and I'm also the Executive Director for the GSW Foundation. I'll be guiding us through the program today, and first, it is my pleasure to introduce Georgia Southwestern's 13th president, Dr. Kerry Palmer. He's been on the job since July 1st, and after he completed his role as provost at Troy University in Troy, Alabama. President Palmer is steadily leading the GSW campus forward during active growth and opportunity. And so it's an exciting time to be at GSW. So please welcome Dr. Kerry Palmer.
Well, thank you, Stephen, and good morning, and welcome to Georgia Southwestern University. State University. It's a thrill to be here. I was telling several of you just a moment ago, I became an amateur presidential history buff when I was about 10 years old, and when I got this job and found out that we host this event, my wife said, "Well, my goodness, you have just died and gone to heaven, haven't you?" And I have. It is a thrill to welcome you here. And for those of you that carry the history with these wonderful presidential families that we're thrilled to honor, we're also honored to be joined today by Congressman Sanford Bishop, State Senator Freddie Powell Sims, I think, may be here with us today, Mayor Travis Rush of Americus. We're also grateful to have representatives from the offices of Senator Warnock, Senator Ossoff, Brenda Williams, and Elise Wolf, who've joined us on their behalf. Will you help me welcome all of our distinguished guests who are here with us today? And of course, we also have the descendants of Presidents Tyler, Grant, McKinley, Eisenhower, Carter. Anybody else that I think I tried to cover? It was a little surreal to meet some of you and know that you're descendants of people I've read so much about over the years. We have students joining us here today as well, and the students are dispersed throughout this room. These students are members of the President Jimmy Carter Leadership Program here at Georgia Southwestern, which is a program we're very proud of. We hold, obviously, President Carter in high esteem here, and we want our students to emulate his service, his servant leadership, and so they're a part of that group as well, along with several of our senior administrators. Many of you have traveled a long way to be here today, and I appreciate that. We thank you for coming our way. I hope you enjoy your time here in this facility. This facility is a little over a year old, named for Griffin Bell, who was the United States Attorney General in the Carter administration, a native of Americus, former federal judge, and a wonderful human being. And it is just a real honor for us to be able to honor and remember Judge Bell with this beautiful facility. As Stephen said, I've been president of this university for just a few weeks, about 6 weeks. I'm still trying to find out where all the restrooms are on campus, but I have discovered that this is a place that it's not hard to fall in love with. It's not hard to fall in love with GSW, and it's not hard to fall in love with Americus. There's one fact about Georgia Southwestern that I learned almost immediately, because everyone here in town makes sure that you learn it immediately. And that is that Jimmy and Rosalind Carter loved GSW. And GSW loves them. And I say that in the present tense. We'll always be very proud to be associated with those two. We are honored that this campus played such a pivotal role in the development of these two remarkable people. And their presence really, especially as you look around this room at the scholars in our Jimmy Carter program, their presence is still felt here daily. In September of 1941, an 18-year-old Jimmy Carter left the family farm just outside of Plains and moved into a dormitory on this campus. He spent 1 year at Georgia Southwestern, working through the courses that were recommended in the Naval Academy's guidebook for prospective midshipmen, so he knew exactly what he wanted to do. From here, he went to Georgia Tech and then on to Annapolis, had a career in the Navy, eventually served in the Georgia Senate, and eventually became the governor of this great state And of course, as we all know, he moved to the White House. But even in his later years, President Carter would say, "This is where I got my start, right here at GSW." A few years after young Mr. Carter left, a young woman named Rosalind Smith rode the Trailways bus in from Plains every morning to take classes on our campus. She did far more than just attend school here. She served as vice president of her class. She helped found the Young Democrats, so she was getting the political bug early in the game. She served as a campus marshal. When you walked in the door today, our campus marshals greeted you. That's the oldest student organization we have here at GSW, and Rosalind Carter was a member of that. She also belonged to the tumbling club, which I find interesting. In 1946, she graduated, and that same year she married the young man who'd once lived just down the road from her in Plains. 3 decades later, of course, Rosalind Carter became First Lady of the United States. We all know that she was one of the most engaged ones this country has ever had, especially in her lifelong advocacy for mental health care and later family caregiving. GSW is proud of its most famous and distinguished graduate. 2 of our buildings bear Mrs. Carter's name, combining to form the Rosalind Carter Health and Human Sciences Complex, home to our College of Nursing and Health Sciences. Her legacy here isn't just a plaque or a portrait or even a statue, and we have a statue of Mrs. Carter. It's a functioning part of this university. We're still training nurses and supporting caregivers, and we're still engaged in those buildings and doing the work that she spent her life championing. So when the commission chose to hold this gathering in our little corner of Georgia, so close to Plains, you didn't just choose a convenient location. You chose a place that is genuinely a key part of the Carter story. Georgia Southwestern is deeply honored to be the academic home of the National First Ladies Day Commission. It's our privilege to join you in telling the stories of the remarkable women who serve this nation as First Lady. To the Commission and to the Society of Presidential Descendants, thank you for the work you do to ensure that the women who serve this country as First Lady are remembered fully, not as footnotes, but as the advocates, strategists, and stewards of public life that so many of them were. That mission belongs naturally on a campus that helped to shape one of them. And everyone in this room, welcome to Georgia Southwestern. I hope you leave today with the same sense I've had in my first few weeks here, that this small university in Americus, Georgia has played a big role in American history and will continue to do so. Thank you once again and enjoy today's luncheon.
His name should sound very familiar to everyone in the room. Ulysses Grant Dietz is the second great-grandson of Ulysses S. Grant, President of the United States. His mother, Julia, was the president's last living great-grandchild. He studied French at Yale and was trained as a museum curator in the University of Delaware's Winterthur program in America's material culture. He is a member of the National First Ladies Day Commission, and we're happy to have him here today. On your program is Massey McKinley. Massey was unable to attend because of some travel issues, so we're happy to have Ulysses Grant Dietz.
Well, I am thrilled to be here. And I have a feeling when Massey invited me to come here when we were having lunch in New York a couple of months ago, he knew this was going to happen and that I was going to stand up here. And none of us in the Society of Presidential Descendants or the National First Ladies Day Commission are shy about talking publicly. So I really am here on behalf of Massey McKinley's 2 First Ladies, Ida McKinley and Frances Cleveland, and my own First Lady, Julia Dent Grant, after whom my mother was named, and her father, Ulysses, was named for the other one. And also, where was I going with this? Oh, yes, and also, I know we're all here for Rosalind Carter, and you might think, well, what does that have to do with me? Well, that has a huge amount to do with me, because Rosalind Carter was enormously influential on me as her husband was rising out of Georgia to become a national figure, and I was just beginning to vote. And so she, how can I say this in this room? She turned me away from 4 generations of Republicans to vote for her husband. And I've never had any regrets. And I'm thrilled to be here at Georgia Southwestern because of this, I should do this chronologically, this very new relationship where they are the academic home of the National First Ladies' Day Commission, of which, along with other august people in this room, and Nicholas and Larry among them, but others, Andy. See, that's the problem. Once you start naming people, you got to name everybody, and I can't see everybody. But the National First Ladies' Day Commission, which I jumped at a chance to be at, because of Julia Grant, because she was an extraordinarily important First Lady. And I read her memoirs before I read his memoirs. And I've read her memoirs 4 times, and I use it to calm myself down when I'm stressed. I'm sure you've never heard that before. So the Society of Presidential Descendants was the progenitor of the National First Ladies' Day Commission, which was the progenitor of this relationship as this university, as our academic home. And all of it fits in beautifully because Rosalind Carter, see, is someone else going to say this? Was the first lady to acknowledge the National First Ladies' Day Commission. And the role of the First Ladies gets increasingly important to me, I guess, as I get older and stop thinking about the greater world and thinking about the even greater world of civic service and good works and open hearts, because that's what Rosalind Carter means to me, and that was not what I was supposed to say. But you see, I wander off track. But I'm going to end with a letter from one of our most important members, both of the Society of Presidential Descendants and the National First Ladies' Day Commission, who couldn't be with us today, which is Mary Jean Eisenhower, a dear friend to all of us who are involved. Dear friends, I'm so sorry that I am unable to be with you for this inaugural luncheon celebrating the academic home relationship between Georgia Southwestern State University and the National First Ladies' Day Commission. I believe this is truly a remarkable and historic partnership, and one that presents an extraordinary opportunity to further the Commission's mission of honoring, preserving, and celebrating the lives and contributions of all of America's First Ladies. Establishing an academic home for the Commission ensures that this important work will continue to educate and serve future generations of students and scholars. It is also especially meaningful that Georgia Southwestern State University will serve as the official archival home of the National First Ladies' Day Commission. This letter is going into those archives as soon as I'm done with it and hand it to Nicholas or someone. And every time I move off script, I lose my place. Oh, it is also fitting that this relationship is being established with Georgia Southwestern University. First Lady Rosalind Carter maintained deep and enduring ties to this university throughout her life and was always proud to call it her alma mater. Although I regret that I cannot join you in person for this special occasion, please know that I am with you in spirit as you mark this important milestone. I extend my sincere congratulations to Georgia Southwestern State University and to the National First Ladies' Day Commission. I look forward to witnessing all that this partnership will accomplish, and I hope this inaugural luncheon will become an annual tradition that serves as the official kickoff to the Butterfly Days weekend in honor of Mrs. Carter. With my warmest regards, Mary Jean Eisenhower. And with that, I'll go back to my table, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Reverend Nicholas Inman is the founder of the National First Ladies' Day Commission, the executive director of the Laura Ingalls Wilder Home and Museum, and senior pastor of the Elkland Independent Methodist Church in Elkland, Missouri. Inman is also the founder of the Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival in Marshfield, Missouri. A dedicated philanthropist and historian, he leads and serves numerous cultural, educational, and preservation organizations. And prior to his coming up here, I want to give you some instructions on our lunch. We're going to go from table 1 in this direction to table 3 for our speakers, and the line is buffet style. And then from there, each table can fall in, and then we'll get started with our program and re-enter. So please, everyone, welcome Reverend Nicholas Inman.
Thank you. If you'll bow with me. Heavenly Father, as we gather together with friends and neighbors from afar, we thank you for this opportunity to come together to honor the legacy of our First Ladies, especially our dear and cherished friend Rosalind Carter. Thank you for the special relationship that has developed with Georgia Southwestern. Thank you for all who serve here, for those who serve on the National First Ladies Day Commission. Bless this time of fellowship and this food to our bodies. We give you glory and we give you praise this day. And all of God's people said, Amen.
Pastor and filmmaker. His work spans chart-topping music, popular streaming and broadcast programs, and the PBS documentary Plain Spoken, featuring one of President Jimmy Carter's final interviews. A Texas native, he now lives in Plains and is active on the Friends of Jimmy Carter Board of Directors. He serves as a board member on the National First Ladies Day Commission. Please enjoy a song by Andrew Greer.
Thank you, Stephen. That's where you applaud. I'm totally teasing. I'm totally kidding. Well, as a person, citizen of Plains, who was drawn into the gates of Plains by Jimmy, but especially Rosalind Carter, then it's a delight to be here today as someone who is a part of the National First Ladies Day Commission, as Stephen said, to celebrate the marriage of GSW and the commission is a really exciting thing for today. But when Rosalind turned 95 years old in 2022, so she's coming up on Tuesday, it would have been her 99th birthday. A dear friend of mine, Cindy Morgan, who's a wonderful songwriter up in Nashville, she and I, Leanne, I think, is who first instigated this, one of her nieces, but asked if we would write a song that honored her life. And since that's part of what we're doing here today, that's part of what we're doing all weekend long in Plains, celebrating her around her birthday, then I thought this would be a fitting way to not only celebrate her, every First Lady, and the contributions they have made, but also a way for us to reflect about our own lives and the contributions that we are given to make within our own context and time and space. Deep down in Georgia, high up in those pines, Mom and Dad and all the angels sang when she arrived. It was the roaring 20s in that quiet, dusty town. A bus driver, seamstress, a baby in a little white house. Strong as steel, sweet as a magnolia, morning prayers and evening meals, that's how the Lord grows you. Fly, fly, butterfly. Up strong and gentle, apple of her daddy's eye, but 13's too young to have to tell him goodbye. Now she's 18 in college, with wings to fly away, with a Navy man in a rumble seat, in love on her first date. Well, she's strong as steel, sweet as a magnolia, love and loss that hurts and heals, that's how the Lord grows you. Fly, fly, butterfly. 800 miles away. Well, God knows, only God knows how to make the world a better place. She walked into the shadows in the darkness of their minds, gave them all the love her heart had to help them see the light. Now deep down in Georgia, high up in those lofty pines, her mom and dad and all the angels, they're singing. Yeah, mom and dad and all the angels, they're singing. Fly, fly, butterfly. Fly, fly, butterfly.
Andrew, that was fantastic. Let's please give him another round of applause. In that beautiful song, he mentions butterfly to fly. I want to point your attention to the floral arrangement on each table that includes butterflies. That's in honor of Rosalind. And I want to thank Leon Holloway, who is here in the room with us today, and he was responsible for all these lovely arrangements today. Let's please give Leon Holloway a hand. Congressman Sanford Bishop has represented Georgia's 2nd Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives since 1993. A respected leader and senior member of the House Appropriations Committee, Congressman Bishop is a strong advocate for Southwest Georgia, specifically in areas like agriculture, economic development, education, Veterans Affairs, and improving the quality of life for every Georgian. Having represented the Carter family for decades, Congressman Bishop has a sincere appreciation for presidential first ladies. Please welcome Congressman Sanford Bishop.
Well, good afternoon. Truly, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, because today we are celebrating the life of a good and a great First Lady, a great woman, a great human being, and we are getting to do that here at Georgia Southwestern University, which is so dear to her, in Sumter County, near Plains, where she grew up. It is really an honor and a privilege and a pleasure for me to be here at this university, joining everyone in welcoming the National First Ladies Day Commission to Southwest Georgia, Sumter County, and to Georgia Southwestern State University for the inaugural National First Ladies Day Commission Luncheon. The Commission's mission is to recognize the remarkable legacy of America's First Ladies as we look toward our country's future. And when it comes to Rosalind Carter, remarkable barely scratches the surface when describing her legacy. I'd like to recognize, of course, and thank Georgia Southwestern State University President, Dr. Palmer, and for the National First Ladies Day Commission Representative, Mr. Ulysses Grant Dietz, for welcoming the commission here today. Reverend Inman, thank you for delivering the invocation. And it's certainly a pleasure to be a part of this event along with Mr. James Carter, Rosalind's grandson, accomplished civic leader in his own right, as well as the commission board member, Dr. Larry Cook. Finally, let me thank Andrew Greer for his uplifting song and singing in honor of our former First Lady, our dear friend, Rosalind Carter. That calls for an applause. All of us know that no single event or gathering, no one set of remarks can fully encompass or adequately convey the outsized impact and the inspiring impact that Rosalind Carter had on our community, on our state, on our country, and on the entire world. Books have been written and will continue to be written about her legacy, and I truly believe that her story continues to unfold because her work continues to shape the course of our lives. As you know, Rosalind was born and raised in Plains. She graduated as valedictorian from Plains High School, was vice president of a class at Georgia Southwestern College, now Georgia Southwestern State University, where she graduated in 1946. In 1945, she began dating a young man named James Earl Carter Jr., also from Plains. Jimmy and Rosalind married in 1946 on July 7th, and they were going to spend 77 cherished years together, built on love, dedication, respect, trust, and integrity. She was First Lady of Georgia when Jimmy was governor, and I first met them in 1972 when he appointed me as a young lawyer to a state commission. In November of 1976, he became the president-elect of the United States, and she was by his side as she had always been, and at the White House, where she would make her own mark in defining what it means to be America's First Lady. The egalitarian relationship between President and Mrs. Carter drew widespread interest, but also criticism from those who believe that the wife of a U.S. president should focus solely on homemaking and hosting White House parties and events for foreign dignitaries. Nonetheless, she attended many cabinet meetings and attended the weekly business meetings with President Carter, where she could listen and share input with him and bend his ear and draw his attention regarding important issues and concerns that he faced and that the country faced. In 1977, President Carter appointed his wife, Rosalind, the honorary chair of the President's Commission on Mental Health. In 1979, the commission submitted the Mental Health Systems Bill to Congress. Mrs. Carter testified before the subcommittee that was considering the bill, and she became the first presidential wife since Eleanor Roosevelt to testify before a congressional committee. Subsequently, the Mental Health Systems Act was passed by Congress, and it was signed into law by her husband, President Carter, on October 7th, 1980. The footprint of her leadership can be found in communities all across our country and all across the world, including right here at Georgia Southwestern State University, where the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregiving was established and operated for 35 years. I've been honored to support her work and legacy in Congress by helping to fund the center's research, as well as its creation of dementia and Alzheimer's disease programs, as well as other tools that help Americans learn how to be effective caregivers. Her leadership not only helped improve the lives of families and caregivers, but it also helped to make Plains, Georgia, and Georgia Southwestern State University, along with its leaders, faculty, students, medical professionals, researchers, and social workers, become world-recognized vanguards in the field of caregiving. We all knew what Rosalind Carter stood for, and we knew her values. Driven by love and compassion and integrity, she fought relentlessly to create a better world, working to eradicate disease, to strengthen democracies, to alleviate human suffering, and to improve the quality of life for millions and millions of people, most of whom may never know her name or the role that she played in their lives. Mother Teresa once said that a life not lived for others is not a life. Rosalind Carter lived her life for others, and she went beyond the call of duty to do so. America has had many notable and admirable and accomplished first ladies. But there is no question that Rosalind Carter belongs among the pantheon of great first ladies as well as great world leaders. So as we look to our past to help shape our future, let us share her stories so that generations to come will continue to draw on the life and the legacy of Rosalind Carter. I close with my favorite poem. It's called A Bag of Tools. And it goes like this: Isn't it strange how princes and kings and clowns that caper in sawdust rings and common folks like you and me are builders for eternity. Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mass and a set of rules, and each must make ere life is flown a stumbling block or a stepping stone. And today we are celebrating because Rosalind Carter did not use her life in any way to be a stumbling block, but rather a stepping stone for a higher, better quality of life for people across the world and humanity. To God be the glory for the life and the legacy of First Lady Rosalind Carter.
Thank you, Congressman Bishop. Okay, you're all now in for a treat, a conversation about presidential and first lady descendants between someone who studies them and someone who is one. James Earl Carter IV, the grandson of President Jimmy Carter and First Lady Rosalind Carter, is a political researcher and consultant with extensive experience in U.S. campaigns and international election observation through the Carter Center. A Georgia State University graduate, he founded the Atlanta-based Carter Research and has also worked with Panama's Ministry of Social Development on grant initiatives. A member of the National First Ladies' Day Commission, Carter's name is also on the Georgia Southwestern Library in honor of his great-grandfather, James Earl Carter, Sr. Dr. Larry Cook is a nationally recognized presidential historian, award-winning author, and a political commentator, a leading expert on presidential memorabilia. He has amassed a collection of more than 8,000 artifacts. He has consulted for President Jimmy Carter and First Lady Rosalind Carter, speaks nationwide, appears often in national media, and serves on several historical organization boards. He too serves on the National First Ladies' Day Commission Board of Directors. Please enjoy a fireside chat between James Carter and Dr. Larry Cook.
Hello, everyone. It is such a thrill to be here for a multitude of reasons. First of all, as a commission member, this new partnership we have with GSW is just fantastic, and we're so proud of that. Second of all, to look out here and see so many friends that are so close to Diane and I, that are some of them so close that we consider them family. And for all the new friends that we made today and that we make every time we come to Plains. It's just wonderful. And to be able to interview one of my good friends and fellow board members, James, and most of all, to honor a First Lady that has just always been one of my heroes. Both she and her husband have always been one of my heroes since I was a little kid and started that collection that you just heard about. So, with that being said, James and I are going to have a conversation.
First, I want to say thank you for having me. I don't get to do this as often as some of the other descendants. I think that's because there's like 1 million Carters out there and they have to spread it around. I'm also glad this is a figurative fireside chat. It is a little warm for the fire today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we'll get started here. And, you know, my interest in the personal side of the presidency, it really fits in with this first question, because we're going to talk about many of Rosalind's accomplishments throughout this chat that we're having here today. But to you, she was grandma.
Yep.
And tell us, you know, just tell us about that. What kind of a grandma she was, and I imagine with all of her accomplishments, that was probably one that was most important to her, to be a grandma.
Oh yeah, definitely. We called her Mom, just because Papa and Mom were the grandparents on this side. And she was the heart of the family, for sure. My grandfather was a military man, the Navy, strict disciplinarian, and very schedule-oriented. So the rule in the family was, if you weren't on the bus, they would leave you. But if you beat Rosalind, you were okay. She was never going to get left. So yeah, so she would cover for us sometimes if somebody was having an issue getting ready or something. She would patter around to make it, you know, to slow walk it a little bit so they'd have time to make it to the family vacation that year. Yeah, but she was just like I won't say stereotypical, but like your loving grandma from like the movies. She was doted on all of her grandchildren. She loved us more than anything else in the world. And she did. My favorite story, we were on a plane going to a family vacation. So it was right after Christmas. And I was probably 9 or 10, sitting in the back of the plane. My grandparents were in first class. All the grandkids and kids were crammed in like the back 3 rows of the plane. And about a half an hour into the flight, Mom, or Rosalind, comes down the aisle from first class with a loaf of bread and a Tupperware container full of pimento cheese. And she stood in the back of the plane and made pimento cheese sandwiches for the grandkids and the kids that wanted them. And she had a little bit left over when we were done, so she asked if anyone else sitting back there wanted a sandwich. So I remember the guy sitting ahead of us was like, yeah, after she left, he was like, I don't even like pimento cheese, but I mean, you know, how often do you get offered a sandwich by First Lady of the United States? So yeah, I mean, she was just great. Definitely the heart of the family, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. She, do you have any other stories you wanted to, while we're on that subject, that you want to put in there?
Well, I'm sure I'll
add them in as we go along.
for sure.
The one thing that always interested me as a historian was that President Carter made no secret that Rosalind was his closest advisor, not just in the White House. The congressman alluded to some of that in his remarks, and beyond the White House as well. And again, as a historian, I feel that they had the closest partnership, really, of any president and first lady there, just because of the longevity of it and the closeness of the partnership. Talk about that a little bit. But.
Oh yeah, for sure. That but for me, so apparently there was a time early in their relationship when they weren't on so equal a footing, but apparently Rosalind set him straight a few years in. And this is what I heard, because this is before I was born. But by the time I came around, they were definitely equals in everything. She was his closest advisor, first and last person he would talk to every day. She definitely had her views on the issues, and they didn't always agree on things. She was, I guess, the more political minded, and this is weird to say, but like, she was more tried to kind of round his edges a little bit, especially, with us, like I had said before. Sure. She did that. But even in, like the policy arena and stuff, he would have something that he wanted to do, and she would try to convince him to do it a certain way so that it would come off politically better. And he wasn't worried as much about that. It's definitely an interesting dynamic. It's not often that the first lady is the political one, but it's the single-mindedness of my grandfather and the stubbornness, I guess. He had his things that he wanted to do, regardless of how it would play to the public. She definitely had more of a feel on kind of the feelings part of just all issues, and also personal relationships kind of things.
Well, she played such a major role in history because of what you said. And I know we want to hear your stories, but I have to interject in here with a story of my own, because it just brought it to mind as I was listening to you, was with all the influence that she had and her being more political. And when I was writing my book, Symbols of Patriotism, and of course she's in it, and she loved the fact that I was writing that book, and she would call me several times during the writing of that manuscript, and she would say, "Oh, Larry, I want to tell you one more story that you might want to put in the book." And she was so sweet. She would always say behind that, "But I'm not telling you what to do, Larry. Please, I'm not telling you what to do. Like Mrs. Carter, you can tell me what to do anytime you want." And so she would tell me a story, and they'd be great stories because they would be ones that I didn't know, and both as a friend and a historian, I just loved it. And so after she had called me several times and we were almost done with the book, she called me one more time and told me another story. And we got all done and we were saying our goodbyes, and she said, "Oh, I do have to mention one more thing." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "Well, between you and me, if it wasn't for me, I don't think Jimmy would have ever been president." And I said, "Mrs. Carter, you don't have to run to him and tell him I agree with you, but I agree with you." Yeah. So she did have so much influence, and I really do believe that when people went into that voting booth in 1976, Rosalind Carter's name wasn't on the ballot, but it was on the ballot in their head, because she made her voice heard, and to what kind of first lady she was going to be. So.
And she also campaigned for him a lot, which was difficult for her because she was painfully shy.
Yes.
As I was when I was young. That's something that we have in common. I once gave an oral report from underneath a table in the second grade because I couldn't stand up in front of people. So that kind of thing. But in order, she worked through it, took, speaking classes, and eventually got up. Obviously, she was a natural speaker pretty quickly, and was a big draw on the campaign trail. And they would have separate schedules and then meet for big events and to see each other and that kind of thing. But yeah, she definitely was a big help in the campaign.
I always got a kick out of that, and knowing that she had that shyness and she overcame that. And then in the years that we knew them, and when we'd be together, and your grandfather would be speaking, and he'd get all done, and it was kind of the conclusion, and then she'd be like, "No, wait a minute, I want to say something," and she'd take the microphone from him, and so she really overcame it, and then wanted her voice heard, and that was just fantastic. She revolutionized the office of the First Lady. I find this ironic because she revolutionized that office as much or more than Eleanor Roosevelt. And there's so many connections there. Your grandmother's first name, Eleanor, and both having ties to Georgia, both testifying with Congress, but she just made so many changes to the office of the First Lady and brought that to the forefront. I'll pass that on to you.
Yeah, definitely with the policy and issues, having certain issues, and not only advocating for those issues with the president, but also with the public. That was something that Eleanor Roosevelt did, and something that my grandmother did as well. And it's something that all the First Ladies since then have done. It's become a part of what First Ladies do now, is they have an issue that they advocate for, and they do that. And it was, Eleanor Roosevelt first, and then my grandmother modernized it.
Sure. They
and
both ruffled some feathers in the
Right,
White
yes,
House,
exactly,
and weren't afraid to do that.
Yes, as many First Ladies have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she established the office there, and I just think the coolest thing was attending the cabinet meetings. And again, going back to that advisor thing, being the closest advisor, he made no secret of that. Having her in there, they would schedule their lunches together anytime that they could and talk about things. So,
also the issues that she chose particularly are very personal to me. I have struggled with mental health issues in my life, but I grew up in an environment where that was not stigmatized in our family at all. And so I was able to get help early on in my life without much shame or things that a lot of people have to go through. Sure. And that was because of her, her being so open and talking about it. Just made it kind of it's a natural part of life that many people go through, and
Sure.
So growing up feeling that, I was able to kind of recognize it in myself. My parents also were educated on it, and it's very important for me. So I have a deep personal connection with that issue.
wow, yeah. How fortunate to have the leading person in the world for mental health to be there for you. That's just amazing. Amazing. And so many other accomplishments that she did, before Diane and I got to be friends with your grandparents. I had no idea of the vaccination thing. I had never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. And again, when I was writing the book, the director of Vaccinate Your Family, am I saying it correctly? I think so. But anyway, my phone rings one day and this lady's on there, and she tells me who she is and that she's the director of that organization. And she said, Rosalind Carter told me to call you. Obviously, she wanted that in the book. She didn't want to tell me what to do, but she did want that in the book as well. And she had the director of Vaccinate Your Family call me. And that was new to me. I didn't know about that, but and throughout at her time as First Lady of Georgia, when that all began.
We need her to come back and do it again.
To do it again, yeah, I hear you. And then we'll talk about a couple of other things there, the butterflies. You know, you could talk better about this than I, but, you know, the butterflies proves that when Rosalind Carter saw something that needed to be advocated for,
Yeah.
she did it. And you might talk a little more about that.
It's such a niche issue, you know, but it also is, like, it kind of like encapsulates her life, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, the beauty, just with not only with the butterflies, but also the Rosalind Carter Butterfly Gardens, having the natural flowers and things like that, planting wildflowers and milkweed and things so that the monarchs have stuff to eat on their way down to Mexico every year. You know, obviously her love of butterflies is obvious. I'm not sure if that wasn't a thing that she would have chosen the issue, but it just, it's amazing to me how you take, you know, the one thing, butterflies, having trouble, population is dropping because of all these things, and then of course, and my grandparents did this with so many issues, it's not just this one, but then finding the people who know what to do, boosting their kind of bandwidth so that they can get the resources and things that need to be done, and following through on it to such a great success. Just constant, over and over again, every issue that they came across that touched them, they did that, and it's just, you know, it's the perfect use of the platform that you have as a former First Lady, former President, to find your issues, to boost the people that are doing the right thing already. You know, my grandparents were busy. We had to schedule time with them. You know, you never knew. People would tell me, "Oh, I saw that your grandparents were in Africa," whenever, and I'm like,
They were?
I'm sure they were, you know. I'm sure they were. I have no idea where they are today or this week. But it's just, it's an amazing thing they were able to do.
Well, they used their position for good long after being out of the office. I mean, like what you were getting at there, you know, a First Lady gives you a call and says, "Hey, you can do something about this issue." People listen.
Yeah.
You know.
And then she's off doing, you know, traveling to Africa or
Sure.
whatever. But all of these little issues that she was able to find the right people.
May not only know who to
boost-
call,
Yeah, to
but-
boost the right names, to bring people together.
Absolutely.
Within her network. It's a great skill.
Absolutely, and it just, I don't know, that to me, that's just so monumental of who Rosalind Carter was, because you've got like mental health we talked about, vaccinations we talked about, big issues as people would see them as big issues, and then all of a sudden it's butterflies, and most people are going, huh? Yeah, and then she turns it into, look at what we have today, butterfly gardens all over the world now. And more being planned. In fact, we're planning one in Pennsylvania at the Presidential Center there. So it's a testament to what someone can do after they're out of the White House and they make that call and people do listen. Your grandmother was a visionary and she had tons of wise quotes. I still today love to go on and Google Rosalind Carter quotes and see what comes up, because she was so wise with that. But the one quote that stands out the most, and is probably the most appropriate for this gathering here today, is her quote on caregiving. and when she said there are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those that have been caregivers, those that are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. And that's so profound, because that's a quote that makes you stop and think, yeah, that applies to not just people here in the United States, it applies to people globally, all over the world. And, we all see that as we go through life. We all see how true that statement is, as our parents get older, as relatives get older, as we get older. And it's ironic, I guess would be the word for it, that as that's such an iconic statement by your grandmother, and then she found herself in each one of those categories throughout her life, in all 4 of those categories, starting from when she was young
Yeah, for sure.
with her father.
She definitely loved being a caregiver the most, I think.
Yeah.
And that was her, I think, her favorite job was grandmother. Yeah. She
Yeah,
got
which
to
coincides
spoil
with
us.
caregiver, right?
Exactly. She
Yeah.
got to spoil us without having to deal with a lot of the responsibilities. That was her favorite time of life, I think. But yeah, I mean, that's just who she was. And that quote is perfect, because that's the way that she looked at the world. It was all about a person's heart. When she was speaking to you, it was heart to heart. She recognized everyone's heart. And caregiving is all about the heart.
I loved your parallel right there with grandma and caregiver, because they do parallel, and she's taking care of you all as a grandmother, and as I mentioned, that was such a wise statement, and throughout her life she found herself in each one of those particular categories. And do you have any other stories that you'd like to share that we're not covering here?
I think before we end up, I want to apologize to Georgia Southwestern University. My grandfather used to get a bunch of books. People would send him books. The publisher would send him books. Random people would send him self-published books. Every political book ever came through my grandfather's office. And he let the grandkids have first crack at the books. And the ones that we didn't take got donated to the library here. So I want to apologize for taking hundreds of books from your library that could have been enjoyed here, I think. I feel bad about it now.
Well, you got someplace now you can leave all your books too for the future. So, anything else you'd like to mention? I have a closing question after that. But
Just
give me the opportunity.
Just remember to recognize people's hearts, like my grandmother did.
And what lesson do you think that people should take away from knowing the life of Rosalind Carter? Not just as we all do from a personal aspect, but people that read about her and learn about her, what lesson should they take away from that life?
You put your mind to it, you can do anything.
I love it. I love it.
For sure.
That's great. It's wonderful. James, I thank you very much, and I have so much respect for you for carrying on the legacy of your grandmother, who many of us in here knew and loved dearly. And I just recognize that it's probably not always easy as a grandson to come up and do things like this. But for you to step up and carry on that legacy for history and for all of us, we just greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Let's give them another hand. just remember there is a library with your name on it on our campus. So any of those books, we'll take them, okay? So thank you all for attending today and being part of this historic initiative. Got a few housekeeping items I want to mention to you, but first, I want you to be on the lookout for what is next in connection with this partnership between the National First Ladies Day Commission and Georgia Southwestern State University. So this is step one, and the future is, again, this is the academic home for the National First Ladies Day Commission. So there will be more things to come, and we'll make sure to keep you informed as those things happen. Again, a few housekeeping items. If you would, please leave your name badge at your table. And thank you for doing that. Listen to those snaps. Yeah, that's wonderful. Would like to immediately following the program, I'd like for all the people on the program and the descendants to please stay up front. We're going to take some pictures. And one last thing, on your way out the door, we have a special gift for everyone in attendance. It's a watercolor print with Rosalind's statue that's in front of the Rosalind Carter Health and Human Sciences Complex on our campus. So we zoomed in on the statue and have a watercolor painting of that, and that's a gift for you as you go out. So again, thank you for being here today, and have a wonderful weekend.